Hello, everyone. It's ArtisanTony, and this should be fun. Barrett's going to give me an online lesson. Barrett's offering online lessons in lieu of coming to his studio. But go ahead, Barrett. I'll let you take over from here.
Alrighty. I usually say, "How's it going? How's your day been?"
It's going pretty good.
I usually try to communicate with the student a little bit firsthand. The next thing I like to do is I like to talk about the parts of the instrument, which with the Merlin, it's not really that big a deal. You have the headstock. You put your fingers inside of these spaces that we call frets. And the weird thing about the Merlin is that the frets are all spaced to the major scale. So they're not like a guitar where they're spaced evenly, except for the very last part of it. Then on a guitar, you have a fretboard, but on the Merlin, it doesn't look like you actually do have a fretboard. It's just connected to the neck. It's all one piece, the body. Every string instrument has a bottom part that we call the bridge. So the strings sit in between the bridge and the top part, which is called the nut. And then it's an acoustic instrument, so you have a sound hole that the sound comes out of. And students say, "Duh." But yeah, and then typically the next thing we would do is talk about tuning, because before any of the things that you play on the instrument, before they can really sound that good, you have to have the relationships between the strings the way you want them. So most people tune to D, so you get D, A, and then a higher D on the last two. So just try and play your first string, what we would call open, which means no fingers. And you got a good ear, Dad, so I know you'll be able to do this by ear. But you just take two fingers and you put it on the first tuna peg up here, and you pluck the string, and you just try to match my pitch, or I can use the piano.
Let me turn my volume up so I can hear yours better. Oh, I'm flat. Hold on. Play again. Play again. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can't hear the instrument very well. Okay, yeah, you're still flat, yeah. Which I'm not 100% either.
Well, I think as long as we're together, it'll be okay, right?
Yeah, that's true.
That's pretty good.
All right, and then A. There we go. And then you might want to check the relationship between them, because the fifth always sounds good. So you can just try those two.
Can I do my two lower strings?
Yeah. I just meant like you could check the relationship between those two open ones. Yeah, see, that's what really matters, the relationship between them. So you might want to make sure that sounds like a fifth.
Yeah.
Da,
da, da.
Yeah.
Da, da. Sounds good.
Right. And then you have your octaves. So you have your I went to the third on accident.
I'm stressing out over my two bottom strings, so let me fix them. Yeah, I knew I was flat on those.
And obviously the relationship with those.
Oh, that sounds much better. When I first pulled it out of the closet, it was bad.
Yeah, let me hear it again. Oh yeah, you got a great ear, Dad. That's probably better than what I got right now.
Hopefully it's hereditary.
But you could also put like a tuner on top, and it just reads the vibrations. It's a lot easier because you just get it right in the middle. It'll say D or whatever letter, and then you try to get it right in the middle. So that's how you would do it if you had a tuner on your headstock there, which is what most people do because it's very accurate. All right. Not that our ear isn't accurate, but all right. So the next thing I always do with string instruments is really the deal with string instruments is chords. So I typically, I know what a chord is already, but chord is when you put notes together, right? So that already makes a chord. That gives you what's called a D5. So it's a D chord basically. But if you want to get the third in there, you go to the second fret. So the thing you want to remember though, on the high D strings, the double one. The thing you want to remember though is that when you play any fret, you always want to play at the very end, right next to the bar. Yeah. Which is what makes Merlin difficult, actually, because of the way the frets are spaced. It's hard to always get in the very end like that. But yeah, but you can know if you're going over too far if you start to hear this kind of dead kind of sound. Yeah. When you play them all together. And that's basically just another D chord. It's just a better voiced D chord than D-A-D. You can do lots of different kinds of D chords. This is a more fancy one. But it's unnecessary because it's the same thing, basically. Just the notes are spaced out differently on the fretboard. So let's talk about other chords. Really, how you really want to do it is, and this is what I would do for any student, we would talk about chord charts. So you would go to something like this. I just pulled up a Google image. Let me see if I can find a better one. But, that was when I was looking for the tuning. But you put in Merlin chord chart, because a chord chart for any string instrument gives you chords. It doesn't matter what the instrument is, guitar, whatever. And so here's are the different chords you can actually play. And so knowing how to read that is really the name of the game, because if you know how to read the chord chart, then you can learn any chord you want. So like this is a good example. See the O, 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 or 0, whatever. Mm-hmm. Well, this line on top represents the nut on top. So that would just mean open, open, open on all the strings.
Okay.
But this next one, A major, is a little bit more weird. You would go to your first fret right here. This would be your first fret, and then open, and then first fret. Let me see what you're doing. Sorry, I didn't see it.
I thought that was the chart showing between or on the fret.
Yeah, it's right before the bar, because the bars separate the frets. So this whole thing is the first fret, right? But typically you either do like towards the middle or the very end of the fret.
Oh, I thought you did it on the fret. That's weird. Okay.
And then so I would use probably it doesn't really matter. You can either use your first finger up here and your second finger, or you can use your second finger and your third finger. But they're both in the first fret.
Oh, that's easier, yeah.
And so you would do first fret, open, first fret.
What was it? First fret, open?
Yeah, first fret and then open, first fret.
Oh, okay.
And that gives you an A chord.
Is that right?
Yeah, good job, Dad. The main thing you want to make sure of is that the angle of your fingers is right. Because if it's too far, if your angle of your finger is too far down, then you'll mute the open string.
I think I was touching it, yeah.
So that's like one of the challenges, is just not to mute,
Especially when you have fat fingers.
No. So you in that case, so then since you know two chords, you can go from this D type chord to the A. Yeah, and typically you strum like 4 times or whatever. And then you go to the next string. Yeah, next string. Good, but you want to try to keep your strumming kind of relaxed. That way, when you're first starting, you can try to connect the best you can. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1. That's called the and trick. You say and you move your fingers, and you go to the next chord. You could use your pinky, but your pinky's going to be the weakest finger. That's dangerous.
What if it's my strongest?
All the hammering. Yeah, so that would be 2 chords, and those 2 chords would be used for anything that's in the key of D. Well, now what's cool also about chords, obviously, is that you can play them all together just like you can on a piano or anything when you strum. Or you can also pick the chord out. So you do the same thing over here where you place your finger in the chord chart. I mean the chord, but you pick it instead of strumming it. So something like, and then you can do the same thing with the other chord. You can pick it out. Yeah, that's good, Dad. So what musicians will do is they'll have like a pattern over here, like just like banjo players will have a picking pattern, you know. But a pattern over here can be simple, like down and up, yeah, like a picking pattern.
So
And that's like
down
one
and then
trick.
back up. It's not just start over at the top.
Yeah, it's just like a very typical kind of picking pattern. Down. If you want to use your fingers, you can. But it's not necessary, really. I mean, you can't. Yeah, so with chords, you can either strum them or you can pick them. So you could go from like strumming a chord to picking it. So those are two techniques you can kind of mess around with, and you can do that with any chord you learn.
That's cool.
And then I guess one last thing I'll show you is there's like techniques, right? Like since the Merlin's built as a major scale, as you already know, you can just basically strum, which we haven't talked much about strumming, but you can go up and down. And you can just kind of move your finger along the frets, but when you do it, you want to make sure that you're getting a good sound out of the fret. So like with this really small one, you wouldn't want to have your finger towards the front of the fret. You'd want to have it towards the back of the fret always. It just gives you a better sound. But then you can just kind of move around. You can also move different fingers, like like you could take different fingers and move them along one fret, stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Here's another chord that's cool. You take that A chord and you put your first finger on the first fret there. Or no, it's not an A chord. It's a different chord, actually. That chord is second fret, first fret, second fret.
Say it again. Second fret, what? First?
Yeah, second fret, first fret, second fret. Ooh, that's cool. I like that.
First fret. Let me see your fingers.
No. It's second fret, and then first fret, and then second fret. So your second finger would go on the second fret.
Okay.
Then you do first finger on the first fret.
So that's the problem I have wrapping my fat fingers around without touching.
Well, in this case, yeah, I guess you still can't touch, yeah. And then your third finger on that same fret we were second fret. So second fret, first fret, second fret. And you can move that shape all around, like whatever, That's one of those shapes you can move around. Anytime you have a shape that covers all the strings, you can make it a movable shape. You can move it around. It's kind of interesting.
That is cool.
But what's cool about the Merlin is you could always just keep all the strings open and then just play one string wherever, and it'll still sound good. But typically you want to have a strap too, because it's hard to hold it and keep the open strings while you're trying to hold it and play it. If you have a strap, then you can just kind of let it, whatever. One technique to practice too is these things called hammer-ons and pull-offs. A hammer-on is that's when you hold a note and you pick it, but then you hammer on to another note. So you can do stuff like that. You can get it's just like a sound, See, the trick is you just pick one and you try to get two notes out of it, like pick, hammer on. That's the trick.
I'm looking at you backwards. I'm trying to figure out which one.
It doesn't really matter. Okay. I'm doing fret to third fret. There you go, Dad. Yeah. But the whole point of it is to get that kind of sound, that bump. You can do the opposite and do a pull off where you start higher, so you have 2 fingers on 2 frets, and then you pick the string and you pull off and you go down to the next fret. So like this, pick the string and you pull off. One thing that's cool about pull offs is you literally have to use like the meat of your finger to do it. You have to like pull part of the finger off. So those are the 2 techniques that string players use as hammer-ons and pull-offs to get stuff like that. Dinah, that would be a hammer-on pull-off. And you only pick once.
Well, that's cool, Barrett. How would people get in touch with you to do their online lessons?
Right now we're doing scheduling through the website insanerhythmmusic.com. Then you go to schedule now.
I'll put a link in the description down below.
And cool. Yeah, I mean we're doing guitar. We could do ukulele, bass. I can even set it up to do drums. So we're doing a lot.
Cool, because you could set up a separate camera for the drum set, right?
Yeah. I got it already set up over there.
Well, I think that's really cool that you're kind of answering the call for different an alternative to in studio lessons. So I think that's really awesome.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Dad.
All right, well, maybe you'll have a better student next time. I'm a brass player.
You did really good, actually.
I'm a lover, not a string instrument player.
You played everything I showed
you. We should have trumpet lessons. That would be loud, wouldn't it?
I've always been really bad at trumpet.
All right, well, thanks, son. Well, I'll leave a description and a link below, and please check out Barrett's website. You can schedule there, and I'm just really proud of you, son. You've done really well with your business, and I've always appreciated your help with artisan construction, but I've also recognized that you've done well with your business, and I'm proud of you.
Thanks, Dad.
All right,
Sounds good,
guys.